Hello, everyone. Welcome to Will's World. I'm here with Rachel. I'm here with Chrissy and Alan in the studio. We're here to talk about false police reports, consequences of those crimes, and also harassment. I don't know. Let's start out with you, Chrissy.
Well, I think this is a very interesting topic because, as we can everyone in the studio attest to, being bullied by cyber or regular harassment, filing false police reports for no reason. Right. Pretty interesting that people can get away with this on a daily.
Yeah, it depends on many different factors there.
So when you file a false police report, how much police time? Well, I guess it depends on what they're actually saying happened.
Right.
Police time actually goes into that. And at what point do you consider that harassment?
Well, when you're talking about harassment also, let's say harassment and stalking, a lot of people confuse those two offenses. Let's say, first of all, stalking has to show the intent to harm someone. So if you say, I'm going to beat you up tomorrow, at 3:00, whatever. Yes, that's stalking because it shows the intent to commit, harm or, to inflict pain or harm on someone. Harassment, just multiple calls, being annoying, a nuisance, I can call you guys multiple times and,
leaving comments over Facebook all the time just to see if you get attention.
All the time.
Random. We're so used to, Alan had the FBI called on.
Yeah.
Well,
you can't even make this up.
But, how
did you say to them, what the heck? And, I bet...
Well,
tell us the story about it.
So
you can't even make this up.
Story time.
We all got stories.
I was running for a local political office, and
cheesecake inspector.
Bad idea.
Yeah.
Cheesecake inspector.
And that's a good job. I get to taste it.
Yes.
But no.
Official taste tester.
So this guy comes in. Digress.
Right on.
So I'm standing in my driveway one day, and this black SUV, I think it was a Lincoln Navigator, actually, big black Lincoln Navigator, windows really dark, pulls up out front.
And it wasn't the president.
No, it wasn't the president.
It was G-Ride, though.
And two guys get out of it, dressed in just normal, everyday, plain clothes. Okay. And they asked me my name. Yeah, that's me. And they said, we're going to report that you were up in Washington, D.C. on January 6th, and you punched a Capitol officer. And I said to them, well, you already know that's not true.
Right.
And why do you think that? I said, because if you actually thought it was true, I'd be on the ground right now. Your knee would be on the back of my neck, and I'd be handcuffed.
That's right.
Right? But you're just standing here calmly talking to me. And I said, secondly, I have absolutely no doubt that you pinged my cell phone to discover where I was and discovered I was here the whole time.
In Florida.
In Palm Coast. I never left Palm Coast. So they said, yeah, and we'll probably never see you again. Have a good day.
All right.
Wow. That was
there was no probable cause either.
Yeah, but they did say
autograph.
They did. I got it.
You did.
But they did say that that they had to follow up on every lead, and that came in. So they had to come and see me, even though they knew.
That just goes to show you, even the haters, they go so low. The thing is that all of us sit in the studio and we're talking about our opinions. We don't personally attack anyone by name, go after them or anything. Like, these people, they're actually personally attacking me, you, Will. I'm sure Rachel's had this. And it's just
I get to look forward to this.
I know, right?
Yeah. Welcome.
As soon as you're controversial.
As soon as you're controversial and you step out of the grain and you do something that someone doesn't like your opinion.
Pineapple belongs on pizza. There, I said it.
Oh,
what?
Bruno's going to get you.
Oh. Actually, Bruno said him and Mike said they didn't like toppings, remember, on any pizza because it gets wet.
It gets wet, and pineapple was one of them.
Pineapple was one of them. They said it's one of the worst.
Yeah.
So
Bruno is the guy that owns chain of Bronx House Pizza.
He comes on our show all the time. But it's true, once you step out of there, then you have people. And it's so funny. We're all family here, and they send messages to you or they'll mail them to people and be like, saying all these things. You're like we're not going to defend each other and just rip it up and throw it away. Like, you guys are idiots.
Well, I mean, mine kind of clear because it's basically like, hey, you're going to get a letter of intent. I'm not playing these games. If you think that I've committed some sort of crime, then you need to go to the police and file a false police report Yeah. So, I'll kind of go with the police.
What are the consequences to filing a false report?
You can get $1,000. There could be $1,000 fine in the state of Florida, and 1 year in jail. And it's not prison, because prison in the state of Florida, you have to qualify for a year and a day.
To go to prison.
County jail?
Otherwise, you're just county lockup.
Yeah.
So what if?
Still.
Okay. So what if? I guess intent probably matters.
Oh,
if you file a report and you're just mistaken, that must be different than filing something maliciously, like lying.
Right.
And then how do they prove that?
Because also when a police officer or any type of peace officer, police officer, or anyone that works for the state asks you for a statement, you provide a statement.
That's under oath.
You're under oath. And perjury is another offense that you don't want to have.
Well, you wouldn't know it from how they treat Fauci.
No. I got one to match your story. So I had someone who called in just recently because we did a podcast and said we did something illegal on the podcast and filed a false police report. Not even 2 days later, I'm at a local restaurant with my 7-year-old. And this same person proceeds to chase me around the gift shop with my 7-year-old and screaming obscenities. So if you correlate the two together, plus what she's posted on social media, you can kind of put together an idea. It is unhinged.
That is a very bad idea
because there's cameras there too. After she did it, there are cameras in the store. And I said to them, can I have video footage? I'm going to do my report. And now, so when she filed hers, now she's clearly harassing. I mean, that's clear harassment at that point.
Yeah, that's a very bad idea because
people don't lie. You need Jesus.
Like, who does this in front of kids?
Right.
Get yourself together. We're adults.
The reason why she was doing that because she knew that
age doesn't make you an adult.
And I guess when I smiled and was walking the other direction, she felt the need to chase me. She didn't realize that they had cameras in the restaurant.
Shouldn't you assume that everywhere has cameras? Anywhere there's people have cell phones, and cell phones have cameras.
The cool thing is my little handy guy over here. We got some camera body cams. We've got keychain cams, key fobs. We have cameras on us that no one else. So you want to try something, go ahead. I mean, it's kind of dumb, but you're going to get reported.
Especially in Florida when it comes to... let's say you're going to try to chase someone down or run someone down in the streets. When it comes to our laws about self-defense, that's a very bad idea. A very bad idea.
Stand your ground.
Stand your ground.
In Florida, we have that. You don't have to run away.
No, you don't have to retreat. You're in a place that you're lawfully, you're supposed to be lawfully. You can defend yourself.
Especially when someone smiles and I'm walking the other way and they intentionally come up behind you and kind of come up with you and they're screaming in your ear. It's on video. It's kind of, you don't need to.
Are you filing a complaint?
Already did.
Oh, awesome.
Very good. You should.
But that's just one of the harassments that we get all the time, though. And it's like, you can't have an opinion. And
when I was running for office again, I was accused of being involved with a terrorist group that blew up the Oklahoma City building.
Oh, boy. Yeah. Okay.
I was accused of...
How? They already got those guys, and that's not even... You weren't even anywhere near Oklahoma or...
I know,
okay.
It's funny how it comes up right in the... Right at that time.
I was accused of never paying taxes. Now, that one I like. I just like to know how I'm supposed to do it.
So how do you guys protect yourself from...
thick skin.
I don't right now because it's been so much the last year and a half. I really could give a shit less, but the harassment part of it, like, how does somebody protect themselves if they're constantly being berated? Like, it's like you get to a point where you don't care, but like physically, if someone does come after you or something, how do you protect yourself?
Well, see, let's say as a private investigator, a lot of people will make false claims because if you find out something on that person or someone of their loved ones and you go to court and they lose, then you never know, you might get a complaint because now they finally know who you are as you testified. So they may try to file a false report. Yeah. Let's say there was an investigator, we'll call him Timmy, and Timmy was accused of trying to, harm or kill, let's say subject's girlfriend or fiance, whatever. And it wasn't even possible. Timmy was nowhere near, in the area. And also, they couldn't even describe Timmy. They said that Timmy was like about 5'5" or something and all this other stuff. But Timmy's about 6'7",
That's close.
All right. And it was like so many pages of like complaints. And it's like, well, okay. you know, and they actually, you know, they brought Timmy in, and Timmy just answered the questions and said, okay, well, this is insane. But then again, the person didn't do the number one thing. And come on, anyone could guess. The first thing you would do if someone's trying to run you off the road, someone's trying to
call the cops.
Oh, right.
You're
there
right.
you go. They didn't call the cops. So, you know, and Timmy's just looking through everything, and they're like, well, I don't even remember any of this. What, you know, and also Timmy happened to be in the hospital at the time. So
well,
that completely killed it.
There's so much that went sideways on that
So
one.
what happens to the person that files the complaint?
Yeah.
Absolutely nothing.
Well, that's
because
wrong.
it depends on that line of work.
But if you file a false police report and give an oath and it's proven okay.
And that's perjury.
That's perjury and a couple of other things, and that you can actually get jail time for
and
that.
Bad things are supposed to happen to you. When you
what do you think
perjury.
the motive is for someone who has to go as low as use law, the police officers, to get involved with stuff like this for harassment purposes? Like, what do you think the motive is? Why do people have to do that?
Oh, they want to see you go down. They want to see you like in jail and you're innocent.
The process is the punishment.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they want to see you go down, but of course they don't realize that it's not going to happen, and especially
they're weaponizing the justice system against you at a low level.
You're right.
Because they can't touch you, apparently, is what it is, and they're just.
Well, here's a question: Why do they have to take anonymous reports so seriously? Because that's how they accomplish the swatting. There's been a lot of popular YouTubers and podcasters, conservatives, that have been swatted. Tim Pool, tons of times. This is just like a regular occurrence.
A lot of different groups. Right.
You don't even need to be conservative podcaster. You can just be a regular person.
Anybody.
Why don't the police stop taking anonymous reports seriously?
You're gonna have to take all of them seriously. At least investigate each report. Not take it like, well, you're just gonna go and guns drawn and throw the person to the ground. Investigate it. If it makes sense, if it doesn't.
Well, that's like when the FBI came to my house.
Right.
They already knew the answer,
What day
but
did
they
come?
had to come.
What day did they come? So that happened on January 6th. Do you remember?
No,
it
it wasn't on January 6th. This
of course not. No,
this was like a year or two later.
Oh no, that's what I'm saying. It happened that day, but how long afterwards did
a
they
year
come
or
to your
two?
house? Jeez.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, if something.
That's insane.
A swatting report, usually they say something terrible is happening, like somebody is threatening to kill themselves and their family, and we hear the screaming, and I would like to report this anonymous. Like, no, like if I heard something like that happening to a neighbor, I would say, yes, I am, my name is Rachel and I am in this house, and I wouldn't be anonymous. I wouldn't feel the need to be anonymous unless I was lying.
Right.
Well, now, okay, let's think of it like this. I have a scenario for you.
Okay.
All right, Rachel. Let's say if you're home and no one's around. I don't know. Your phone's being repaired at one of those shops where they repaired the charging port. You're at home. No one's around. You're accused of, let's say, killing someone, and they find a gun in your home. Maybe someone broke into your home. You didn't report it, and someone finds a firearm in your home. You didn't do it. Look at the scenario that, is kind of created. So let's say if there's no investigation, everything has to be investigated because there's a possibility, but you didn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
But let's say the investigators or police have to go through the proper channels because, well, if you did do it and then you get away with it, come on. So.
But where's the anonymous report in that instance?
Oh, we could just call up and say, hey, I heard shots fired. And you don't even need to, let's say, if your shots fired, you don't have to use, let's say, a search warrant. You say shots fired, I heard a scream coming from that from your residence.
So they can go in without a warrant?
If they hear shots fired, if they hear the sound,
if somebody calls in and the police don't hear it.
Now, the police don't hear it, they can go and continuously knock on your door. If you don't answer, you should answer now. If you don't answer.
I'm just saying, why would somebody say that and insist on being anonymous about hearing shots fired?
I'm scared.
Oh.
They might come shoot
me. That's what, come on, that's, the reason a lot of people say, I'm scared.
But, I mean, it should be...
You terrify me. You just terrify me.
Any anonymous report should be taken with a grain of salt. I think if you're actually reporting something honest and true with good faith, you would be able to say, this is my name, this is my address, call me back at this number, happy to assist in any way I can.
Would you like to report a terrorist? If you knew of a terrorist act going on, would you like to leave your name?
Or if you're in a gang or something like that and you want to get out.
Or a gang.
Yeah.
Let's say if there's gang activity.
I see where sometimes.
Oh, like you're actually involved in shady stuff yourself.
No.
It can be, but no, not that part. But let's say if you witness something, let's say
you don't want
shooting,
retaliation against you.
Because there will be retaliation once they find out. Because they will know when you go to court.
But couldn't they like keep it private? But the police would know who made the report.
The police would know who made the report, but what happens when it goes to court?
You have to. Well, yeah. The state
well,
will make
let me ask you that because that's an interesting question. So, if you call in anonymously and it goes to court, there's nobody that called in, right? So if you call in and give your name, they can't redact it.
They can redact it from the report, of course.
So then it wouldn't be mentioned in court.
Well, let's say if you have to give a statement.
I mean, isn't there a difference between private and anonymous?
Well, if you give a statement, that's
you have
different.
to. Sometimes you might be subpoenaed for court.
Yeah.
That's the bad part. That's
and you don't want a subpoena.
But.
So you don't want to give
your
name.
But if you're going to get involved, you might as well just know that it's coming. So prepare for it.
It's possible. I mean, and it's possible. It may not.
It's not really actionable. It
depends on the crime, too.
So,
when
you get charged with filing false police reports, stuff like that, if someone is anonymous, whatever, and they find out, whatever, what are the penalties? Is like more severe how much more police time went into it, or?
Oh, like, if there's nothing, investigative hours and so on and so on. Yeah. It's, it's something
So if it's a lot of police time, like say someone, like that lady who said that some guy put her into the woods and she disappeared for 2 days. I forgot what state it was. It was somewhere up north. And then it come to find out she just had a mental breakdown or whatever. 2 days, police were looking at her, people were looking for her, all this stuff. And she filed the false police report. In that instance, is there more of a time frame that she would go to jail if she was found guilty of something than if someone just files a false police report and there's maybe a couple hours into it as opposed to days of searching and stuff?
Well, let's say I have a scenario. I want to kind of dance around this one because let's say, for instance, it depends on who's involved, which agency is involved, and how bad they want to get a conviction.
Got you. Okay.
And that's it.
Yeah.
So, it all depends because there are a lot of people that have gone to, let's say, prison and they didn't commit a crime.
Right.
And,
so like there's humans behind all these laws. There's human beings that have discretion.
And that's what I hear.
Wow. Damn, that got dark real quick.
Yeah. Yeah. It's think about it.
And by the way, we don't promote bullying,
harassing,
not at all, no. Filing false reports if you don't like what we have to say or
karma's
anything
coming
like that.
for you.
Exactly.
Yes.
Like, and it's just like
those are rare cases, though, when it comes to something like, let's say, the FBI investigating something. And, when was the last time we heard of the FBI being incorrect or a federal agency?
They were incorrect in his case.
Well, I'm not talking about me, but
there was no conviction.
No, but
there was no arrest either.
No, not about me. I'm going more like, to the federal level.
Oh, yeah.
With, these FISA reports and FISA warrant, and all the FBI games that were played in that.
Well, yeah.
So, granted, it's on a higher level and not the FBI agent in the street.
Right. We're thinking about like grand jury indictments. Usually they have like a 95% conviction rate. If you have a grand jury indictment, you're screwed.
Toast.
You're screwed.
Cooked.
That's it.
Yeah.
But, you could be pardoned, but that's not going to happen. Most people's not going to happen. So.
But at the same time, they can indict a ham sandwich.
Well.
I know this auto pen.
Exactly.
Well, I know you.
Alan, you need an auto pen here. We just got to feel special. We got to make one here.
We gotta make one.
Anything that has to do with the studio or our podcast, this would be funny.
Oh yeah.
Will, you got to get an auto pen. I hear they work amazing.
But like I said, it's always good to watch your surroundings. Anyone that could possibly be like an enemy or a threat, if the police were to come and talk to you, it wouldn't hurt to bring up their name.
Give Will a call. He can give you all the little tools you need for cameras and different things to protect yourself.
It's good to have home security system where you have cameras.
It is.
Yes, because it's timestamped.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you say, I'm
Ring cameras everywhere that timestamp everything. You can use them.
Yeah, because when you go down the street, let's say if you didn't leave your house, even if you didn't have cameras in your home, it was going to happen when you leave your neighborhood.
Yep.
Ring cameras when you drive by, You're gonna be like, boop, 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 you're gonna chime, and it shows you driving by each individual house.
What's
Dash
your
cam.
what's
Dash
your
cam too. Yep.
What's your advice on talking to the police in general? Because I hear, the police are not your friends.
Don't talk to them. Yeah, exactly.
Is that always true?
What's the scenario though? Are they questioning you in the commission of a crime or possible commission of a crime?
Then you don't say anything. From what I've.
Well, because you remember you have the right to remain silent.
Yep, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. Okay, so if you think that maybe, and I can't give you any legal advice, but you have the option.
Wasn't it Mike on? He said that. He said that something about you should always remain silent when you are getting questioned by cops, unless you're actually giving a report. But then you have to be careful. Well, like I guess your questions, if you have to be careful to see if your name's linked to something you don't want to be involved with. Is that what you're trying to imply?
I'm just talking kind of in general
because remember fifth, plead the fifth. Yeah, you don't want to, you want to protect yourself against self-incrimination. But on the other hand,
how often can you plead the fifth?
Well, I mean, okay, it's,
often,
like it's really hard. Alan, if you ever plead the fifth,
Hillary Clinton.
But see,
I've never been in court.
No, but are you being, let's say, arrested, or are you in an interrogation room? That's the question.
No. What if, and this is a real life scenario. I was driving home late at night. I was going across the bridge in St. Augustine on 16, and I saw someone on a bicycle in the dark, and it looked like they were injured or flailing around. It looked like they were in trouble, maybe on drugs. And because I was alone and it was at night, I didn't want to stop and see what was going on. But I happened to see a police car just kind of hanging out, and I stopped and I told them about there's a person back there that I think might be in trouble. Did I do the right thing?
Yeah, of course.
And they probably didn't even they didn't get your name or anything either. That was just a
regular, it doesn't matter in that situation. Doesn't matter. Yeah.
I just said there's somebody back there. It would be nice to know that somebody's checking on them.
That's fine. Yeah. No, that's fine. That's more of a good Samaritan.
I've been told the key thing, if you're on the being questioned end,
right there we go.
That the don't answer questions you haven't been asked.
That's always that's number one. And
you don't want to offer too much information, is what you're saying,
right?
No, because you incriminate yourself.
It's like, for example, like, did you go to the mini mart located on Belterre Parkway? How would you answer that? Yes.
Well,
maybe yes or no. I didn't ask you which day. I didn't ask you.
Right.
Well, you've been there, but like.
Well,
sack of suds.
But they can ask it in a different way too. They can say, "Hey, did you go to the gas station on Belterre?" And you say, "No, I was at the gas station on,"
right,
which is what they really want to know the answer to.
Okay,
it's just smart to have legal representation.
Maybe this is my real question. Remember how we just pointed out that there's human beings behind all these laws, and those police officers are human beings. And if you're rude to them,
most of them,
maybe as a human being, they want to be rude back to you.
Yes.
So maybe if you treat them like a human being,
I don't know, because I've been in two scenarios. I've seen out in public. I've seen somebody not even do anything, and that guy come up like he has a god complex, and you already owe him just by him being there. So I've seen both ways, or it can be versed, and I've seen someone be rude, and the cop was actually trying to de-escalate the issue and things like that. So I've seen it where the cop's been in and walked in like God, and I've seen a de-escalation. So I don't know. There's two. I guess every situation is just handled differently.
It's better to, go, let's say, more of have a calm approach. And, when you talk to someone, you say, okay, well, did this happen on this day, that day, whatever? And basically you'll start out with, you're not under arrest, but, I do have to detain you. And because I need to ask you a few questions.
And that's when you don't want to answer.
No, but if you say you don't want to answer, depends on the situation.
Well, that's true,
can be placed under arrest. So there are many different factors there. They need probable cause. So if they don't have the probable cause, then it's not going to work out. But they're gambling.
So what is she supposed to ask? Is there probable cause with this? Because I prefer not to answer. I plead the fifth.
Whip out your Google JD.
Because when you're asking a question, I know the answer. That's the way I like to do it. I know the answer. I'm asking you a question to see if your answer lines up with mine.
And if I think you're lying.
Right. That's why, let's say if you get pulled over by the police and it's very suspicious and it's you and someone else in the car, they suspect anything, will want to ask you a question and then want to, let's say, separate the person and then ask the other
See if
person.
their story is the same.
So if you're going, let's say you're in a car with someone, you're going to New York. Just say I'm going to New York. I'm driving 95 north. But, you say, hey, I'm going to New York to see my aunt. But then your passenger says, no, we're going to Connecticut to see, my best friend.
Yeah,
So,
I see what you're saying.
Where are you going? Really?
I know, right?
Yeah, so you're going from 95 to, well, where were you coming from? And then one says, you say, oh, we're coming from Miami.
And you're caught in Utah?
Yeah, but your driver's license says Daytona Beach or something. And it's like, okay, well, where do you live? No, I moved down to Daytona, down to Miami, but and it's like, okay, you got to come up with something on the fly. Mm-hmm. And then I say, okay, so
some
that
people
sounds
are
like
good
you
at that.
might
I'm not
be
gonna
running
lie.
drugs. You might be running drugs
sure.
from south to north, because that's basically a port of entry going north. And if your car's sitting a little low, there's certain different things that
I was watching a show last night, a cop show.
You actually were watching TV?
Yes, last night.
Oh my gosh, because you said you don't watch anything.
I don't normally watch
You've got to
TV.
turn on Nancy Grayson and listen to the Tootsie Roll one.
He doesn't want to hear
You got
that.
to. Yes,
I already heard
you
about
want
it.
humor before you go to bed. That's
I
great.
just heard about it.
Hear about it.
But it was that I don't even know the name of the cop show because it was the first time I saw it.
They're all the same.
But it was about it was where a camera was following like the bad boys.
Bad
yeah.
boys, bad boys.
I don't even remember the name of that show. Anyway,
Cops.
they pulled. Oh yeah, that's a hard name to remember.
I was going to say, hey.
So they pulled this guy over, and he obviously was doing bad stuff that they found out about after they pulled him over because that's the way the plot plays out,
Right.
even in real life. Right. Anyway, he handed them a fake ID, and they said, "So this is you?" And he says, "Yes." And the name on it, fake name, was Sylvester something.
Oh.
And so the cops goes. And he says, "Okay, so how do I spell your name?"
Oh, he can't spell his name.
he
Yeah,
He couldn't spell the name.
And what's his birthday?
Yeah.
If you ask someone their name and they pause.
Yeah.
Oh, come on.
The first 48 is the best show. I don't care what you say. If you watch True Crime,
I can't say. I
mean,
don't know.
Dateline has some good stuff, but the first 48, you could go on marathons of that and just keep watching it.
I watch a lot of scam shows like American Greed.
Netflix has some great documentaries too of
I got a show coming out with a guy that caught a serial killer.
who? Oh yeah, that's right.
That's right.
Yeah.
When's he coming in?
Wow.
Yeah,
I wanna
try to
try-
get him on Saturday.
I want to
so.
come on to that
That'd
show
be
with you
great.
because I just want to be like, listen to everything he's got to say. It's probably fascinating.
Oh, I tell you, he went a non-traditional route to catch this
well,
guy.
I'm sure sometimes you have to do this to go to catch.
Yeah, he was a task force guy back in the day.
Wow.
Now he's
So
like
he's
about 73 now. So.
He solved.
My husband is all into like murder mysteries, but like actual like celebrity detectives like Hercule Poirot. If you're on the train with Hercule Poirot, you better get off of that train because somebody's gonna die and somebody's going to jail. But I mean, there is no such thing as like the
What was
celebrity
that-
detective.
What was the name of that girl killer? Oh gosh,
Charlize Theron.
Eileen Wuornos. I know somebody in Daytona. I know
Oh, from Daytona?
Yeah, that
Yeah.
actually, he owned the restaurant. Actually, you remember Dunderbox?
Yeah,
He worked there. He actually came in contact with her and had an altercation like 3 days prior before someone ended up dying.
Wow.
So yeah, that's just crazy. I mean,
But
That
a
is
real life
crazy.
detective, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, he's great, and had one before then, but
picking
them,
them, picking their mind of people that do stuff like this too is kind of. I know.
Catch him.
I know.
Anyways, it looks like we're
Maybe one day we'll be able to go into the jail and do that kind of interview.
Well,
Will, you gotta
work
get
on
us
that.
in.
We'll work on that.
That would be
Yeah,
great
that's-
content.
I know a place, but there's
We
a prison,
digress. We
but-
went from filing false
Yeah,
police
but-
reports and bullying straight to murder. So hey,
Well, it looks like we're gonna have to wrap things up here. It was a great show, and it was awesome having both of you guys here on the show there. And
Thank you.
hey, and everyone stay tuned, like and subscribe.
bye guys.
Bye bye.